My husband and I have two daughters. Amelia, 6, and Paige, 3. Paige recently started throwing up whenever she gets scared. We're not entirely sure why she does this, but we know she can't control it. My brother, sister-in-law, and their kids, 7M and 5F, were here yesterday and one of the first things we told them was that nobody is allowed to scare Paige and that, if she gets scared she will throw up. My nephew wanted to test this, so he hid behind Paige's door and scared her when she went to her room. She threw up on his pants and shoes and ran to find me. I calmed Paige down and started to get her ready for her nap while my husband cleaned up the vomit when my sister-in-law came to me asking about when I'll pay her for my nephew's pants and shoes or when I'll buy new ones. I asked what she was talking about and she said that since Paige destroyed the clothes, I need to replace them. First of all, I'm pretty sure vomit comes out in the wash. If not, we have some kind of stain-removing fairy genie wizard living in our washing machine. And second, everyone was given a warning that if they scare Paige, she'll throw up, and nephew decided to scare her anyway. My sister-in-law got huffy and insisted that we need to replace nephew's clothes. My brother tried telling her it's fine and it'll come out in the wash, but she continued to argue. I eventually told her she could either shut up or leave. She chose the latter and has been complaining to my brother about the pants and shoes since. Am I the a-hole for not replacing my nephew's pants and shoes after he made my daughter throw up in them? Not the a-hole, that's all I needed to make that decision. Exactly this. I was totally ready to go the other way when I first read the title, but OP told them not to do it and exactly what would happen if they did. It's not her fault the kid didn't listen. And they're not destroyed. Sister-in-law is just looking for some money, new stuff because it's totally washable. Definitely not the a-hole. I mean, even if they weren't warned or it was a random accident, the clothes aren't ruined. It should wash out. Not the a-hole. Your sister-in-law sounds difficult. Not the a-hole, I don't suppose in all your sister-in-law's grandstanding, she bothered to address the bullying her 7-year-old son did to your 3-year-old daughter and how she's going to teach your nephew to respect other people. And if your nephew jumped out trying to scare your daughter and tipped red wine or something similarly staining all over himself because of his actions, would she expect you to pay for her child's choices in that instance also? I hope your nephew apologized for upsetting your daughter. Your sister-in-law's kid caused the problem. Shoes can be hard to get clean. She may legitimately need to replace them, but that's on her kid. If your kid had vomited on him unprompted or through no fault of him or his family, it'd be reasonable to expect you to at least help replace the shoes, but that's not what happened. In our apartment we're only given one specific parking space. It's been a challenge since both my wife and I have separate cars and finding parking on the street can be a mission sometimes. Usually whichever one of us gets home first parks their car on the street so that the other can park inside since evening is when it gets full. For the past couple of months our landlady's girlfriend has been coming over and keeps using our parking space. And only ours for some reason. Several times we've had to come knocking at our landlady's door to move her girlfriend's car and she'd apologize to us. The girlfriend always acts like she's doing us this huge favor when we ask her to move. We both have talked about this problem to our landlady and she promises it won't happen again. Last Friday my wife was out of town for the weekend. I came home around 10 p.m. I was exhausted, just finished working a 12-hour shift and wanted to get home. Guess who was parked in our damn spot again? It was late so cars were already parked all over the street. This time I said, fuck it and parked right behind her. I didn't have the energy to go knocking at her door and wait for her to move her car, sometimes they don't even answer. I wouldn't be blocking anyone else, just her from being able to pull out. Then I went to bed. Well, the following morning when I stepped out to water my grass her girlfriend came at me for making her miss her shift at work. She said she was knocking on my door for a long time before because she needed to leave and couldn't. Called me immature and petty when I simply could have gone to her to move her car. I reminded her she shouldn't be parking there in the first place and she left mad. My landlady again apologized and promised to make sure her girlfriend didn't do that again, but now she's not talking to my wife, and they're usually friendly with each other. My wife's not happy with me that I did that. Instead of creating conflict, I could have tried to find parking in the street or ask them to move like I usually do. But this time I got fed up and don't have the energy for it. Wasn't I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. It's clear that the landlady doesn't give two shits about your spot. Do you pay for it? If so, remind your wife and landlady of such. And ask her to prorate based on the times you are unable to use it. Oh no, don't do that, then they'll likely feel like it's okay to use it as they're paying for it. Yep. It's like the study regarding daycares issuing fines for late pickups that found that fines are not a deterrent, but may in fact promote further lateness. Once you assign a financial cost to an action, it allows people to stop viewing their behavior through a moral lens and instead through a financial one. Instead of the landlord knowing that she's in the wrong, even if she doesn't do anything, she can frame it as the cost of renting the space, even if the cost is presented as a punishment, not an option to take. If the penalty for breaking the rules is a fine, then that rule only exists for the poor. Not the a-hole. No explanation needed. Your wife needs to let it go. Edit to add, this is part of your rent. Are they going to refund part of your rent for not having access to your parking spot? Hell no. Also, it is a bit fishy. Did the landlord maybe tell her girlfriend behind the scenes to park there as your wife is a friend and wouldn't call a tow truck? She doesn't park anywhere else, and your wife is mad at you? Sus. Oh dear God, not the a-hole. You pay for that parking spot as part of your rental agreement. By allowing her girlfriend to park in your spot, your landlady isn't holding up her end of the rental agreement by providing you with parking. Take a closer look at your lease. If the parking spot is specifically mentioned, then she's in violation of her own contract. Husband and I are 25 and 27, married 2 years, no kids. In January 2021, we bought my in-laws' house with a $45,000 gift of equity in the agreement that they would rent the house from us until April, when the lease on our apartment would be up. We knew that there would probably be some overlap in the living situation while they sorted things out. However, there was no real plan for them to live with us before we bought the house. A month later, father-in-law asks if they can live with us for a year. They didn't have a solid plan, but they wanted to buy some land out west, build a house, and live with us until then. Father-in-law is 64 and wanted to get his pension. They agreed to pay us rent. We asked them to remove all of their crap from the house by April so we could move our stuff in. They have continued to be really indecisive and not have a plan. They also still haven't gotten their stuff out. The house was dirty from years of no deep cleaning and Rottweilers, so we spent all of March cleaning it. The in-laws took 3 hours lunches instead of getting their stuff out on weekends. April we move in. The in-laws are really trying to respect that it's our house, and they compromised on some lifestyle changes. Plot twist, my father-in-law's mother dies a week after we move in, and he inherits millions. They still don't have a builder or anything concrete at all. My father-in-law retires and spends his days riding his motorcycle while their stuff is still sitting in my house. Living with them has been hard on our marriage, and we are fighting a lot. They're great people, but there are a lot of big personality clashes. I'm spending a lot of time in my room to avoid them. They talk a lot, and I am very introverted. They are also very religious, and I am not, and simple things like listening to music with cuss words causes tension. All 4 of us also work from home, so we are all here constantly. The house also needs a lot of work, and it's making projects much more difficult with 2 other people and another dog to coordinate with. We are already stressed with the new responsibilities. This is probably our last summer before kids, and our plan was to spend this year renovating the house and hosting friends. The whole premise of them living with us was to give my father-in-law time to retire, which is not needed anymore. It's been 8 months since we decided to buy, and they are still flip-flopping on which state to live in. We are spending half of the rent that they pay on a marriage counselor BC. It's causing so much stress. They also have a very slobbery dog that I am cleaning up after constantly, and I'm just too busy for that. They have funds to rent something else, no problem, and I'm not willing to keep putting this stress on my marriage if they don't need the financial help. My husband is kinda caught in the middle and trying his best. He has suggested kicking them out, but I still feel bad. Am I the a-hole for wanting to kick them out? Not the a-hole. Since in-laws' financial picture has changed, why can't they buy you and husband a house instead and keep their old home until they're ready to move? Kick them out as soon as possible. They've gotten way too comfortable living in your house and obviously don't respect you if they're not handling their dogs and criticizing your music. Father-in-law has millions, for goodness sake. There's no reason not to throw him out. Not the a-hole, they're sitting on millions, yet half their contribution hours on marriage counseling from stress they're causing? Yeah, time they moved on. They've reneged on every deal to sort their stuff out, and you're having to do all the work of cleaning up after their dog too? I'm surprised you've not asked them to leave already. If you really feel bad, help them find a really nice place for them to stay, then help them pack.